This is Wickham Sound.
Hello everybody, you're listening to The Art Show on 106.6 FM at Wickham Sound. I'm your host, Dane Cobain. This is the weekly show every Tuesday at 7 PM where we have a different guest on each week from the creative industries. We head over to the Rhyolite Zone for some short stories and or some poetry. We have a music review from Twangling Jack Ford over in the Ilk Shed, and we share a bunch of songs by local and unsigned / indie artists. As always, you can reach out to me here at the studio by dropping me an email on dane.cobain@wickhamsound.org.uk. That's dane.cobain@wickhamsound.org.uk. And I particularly want to hear from musicians, creatives, anyone with MP3s they'd like to share, anyone who think they'd be a good guest. Reach out and get in touch. You can also listen to us again. We're repeated on Monday nights on Wickham Sound. We're also on the Wickham Sound Listen Again on the website. And we're on iTunes, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast, you can find us. So this week we're going to be chatting to local photographer Vicky Baptiste, but before we do that we're going to head over to the Rhyolite Zone, and here is some more poetry. This is, I can't even remember which set this is. This is a set of my poetry anyway. Hiding from the light. Conventional wisdom. Where are they holding these conventions, and who are the keynote speakers? How much do they charge for a ticket, and what does the ticket price cover? What's the purpose of these conventions, and why do these conventions exist? What's their mission statement and target audience? When are these conventions held? Where do these people get their logic? Do they read books and watch documentaries? Who's controlling the people? And to what end are they controlling them? And will we ever find out the answers? You are what you eat. You are what you eat, and if you eat meat and keep eating it, you're an idiot. I don't mean that too harshly. I used to smoke cigarettes before I turned my life around. You can talk about taste, and I'm sure you will, or you can rationalise the way your dinner is killed in concentration camps, but the truth will out eventually. But don't you feel silly putting something inside your body that wants to kill it? I get annoyed enough just thinking about my tax money. I'm creating jobs and boosting the economy, but I give 20% to the government to pay for your healthcare. I pay for roads I don't drive on, warfare I don't believe in, life-saving operations on people who stuff themselves silly eating up meat from a factory farm or cutting their own throats slowly with another kebab from the kebab van. And people say, where's your empathy? And I reply, well, where in the hell was theirs? On being vegan. Eat meat, they said. It'll be fun, they said. And now you're fat and you're dead and you're dying. People seem to think they can't control their stomachs, which perhaps they can't, but I don't find it difficult not to kill animals. I think you do you and I'll do me, but I also think you doing you is killing the planet. I don't know, man. I don't sleep at night, but my conscience is clear. Even cheese and milk and eggs are inhumane, at least most of the time. And the biggest surprise is the community. I should have guessed it was there, but I didn't. It's just a shame people seem so intent on attacking them. Advice for new writers. Write something new every day and read something new too while you're at it. Hone your creativity through cooking and painting or whatever the hell else you think you're good at. Have one good friend and one good enemy. Pay more attention to feedback from your enemy. Learn to not use alcohol as a crutch of sorts. It's not a good crutch and will let you down. Other than that, just have fun and enjoy. It's a roller coaster ride, but it's worth it. Make your voice heard and make it mean something. Blind bitter. Blind bitter biting badly, burned butter, big buildings better built before birth. Brothers breaking bread before being briefly badgered because bored babies by blind bitter biting badly. Brilliant beauty being bearable by borrowing Brian Bilston's book beside Borders Bright Borders, but bad bibliophiles buy backwards before bribing blind bitter biting badly. Beatles beat Beatles because Beatles bleed blue, but Beatles bleed bright blood by being brilliant bassists. Basically being broken by Belgian burglars because Belgian burgers beat both Beatles by brewing blind bitter biting badly. Biting badly blind bitter barrel bottoms before bread blames beer by being bloated brown, burning big bad burps brought by blind bitter biting badly. Bite big, baby boy. Bite big, bad boring blind bitter biting badly. Sticky situations. I got myself into another sticky situation. Nothing major, just another open mic night, another girl, another kiss, another hangover. It's not my fault she plays guitar, writes her own songs, knows the Brian Jonestown Massacre and Tess Parks, makes art and reads Bukowski. She's basically me but better looking. Then I woke up still drunk and sat behind the wheel of a car, my first time ever in the driving seat. I'm 29 years old, neither young nor middle-aged, and I'm not quite sure what's happening to me. What a privilege. So I'm sitting down, keys on my keyboard, alphabetic, so forgive me if I was in zealous. I can't help it, I don't look at the keyboard much. Eating caramelized onion hummus, more commonly spelled hummus, but for dictionary.reverso.net, the top 6 French examples have hummus 1/3 of the time and hummus 2/3 of the time, with expensive breadsticks that I only bought because the plastic in the box is recyclable, and even that is a lie. Australia's on fire, but I had to check. Searched, is Australia still on fire on Ecosia, or my internet collapsed? But at least their Prime Minister's back. Buddy Holly, Charles Hardlin Holly according to Wikipedia. I didn't donate, I tried to plant some trees. Crashed into a cornfield, and now a young man, younger than my father, is reliving him. And how can I dance in the face of death? I'm terrified. It's like a barbecue in a zombie apocalypse. I'm eating hummus instead of stopping the barbecue and maybe the zombies. On horses, I don't even agree with riding horses. Chasing foxes, everyone's so angry. Eating turkey, stroking cats, walking dogs or smoking weed, against the law too, you f***ing hypocrite. Myself included, apart from the turkey. And there's a woman in France I've fallen in love with. I try to learn her language, but I'm scared. She always sees the best in me, and I know at my best, I guess I'm a good boy, but when I'm at my worst, I feel like I'm nothing. And what's the point anyway? She can't save everyone, and she sees the bad in them too. I see the good in people, and I see the bad in people, but I can't weigh one against the other. Either everything is fine or nothing is. I'm not going to kill myself, but I know how to tie a noose. Surely everyone does. But then, I think everyone can tie a tie. What a privilege to live my life. I mean, I'll die when you die anyway. Mon Dieu sans voleur est l'enfant de mon. What a privilege to live my life. Inspire me. Inspire me like I want you to inspire me. Build me up, don't break me down. The cracks are showing and you don't want to get caught in the crossfire. I mean to say, there's a war underway and you have to choose a side. You need to be your own inspiration. You should listen as the owls raise their voices. They raise their voices for you. Making it out alive. It's only just the end of everything, as though the sun winked out and turned its back on us. In fact, you might even say our unhappy world is here to kill us. I won't survive it, but nor will you. We test ourselves by throwing the odds and watching television. Anything for an easy life, even suicide. My friend Todd has a book that he didn't write, but someone else used the inside cover to say goodbye. They didn't make it out alive either. The 10:10 to London Marylebone. Don't let me die on the 10:10 to London Marylebone. I know I look suspicious, but there's no bomb in my case, only clothes, and I struggle to stay awake at the best of times. Don't let me die on 2 hours sleep in the middle of my 3rd cup of coffee. Don't let me die in the foyer, surrounded by the stench of meat and commuters' bacon baps. It reminds me that human flesh tastes like chicken with a little seasoning. Don't let me die on the platform. Don't push me beyond the yellow line. I will not go gentle into that good night. Don't let me die on the railway line, somewhere between Banbury and Bicester North. My to-do list is longer than your novel, and besides, I have a driving lesson. Don't let me die on the road, either. Neil Cassidy gave up by the railway tracks with a damaged liver, but it beats being hit by a golf buggy. Don't give me a diagnosis, just give me a good night's sleep. Let me lie in the arms of the woman I love, because when I'm with her, I think I could live forever. Critics. Critics always say, mate, they say things behind your back. They niggle those little insecurities. They hold up a mirror and I look homeless. I am. I've only got food and shelter. I've got nothing to hide but my pride. It feels good to get a poem out. Funny though, I can write like eyes like lighthouses, but I'm lost for words now. I'm a writer, right? Wrong. I just scrape a living. Pandemic. Okay, very funny. There's no need to cause a pandemic. Although it's true, I ought to wash my hands more. It's April and the clocks have changed, but I only go outside in emergencies. What else is new? Still, it's a shame. I only just got over my social anxiety. A girl broke my heart again. I was looking forward to meeting new people, and it's also a shame people are dying. Me? I've never felt more connected, more human. I've never been more homo and less robotic. I guess I mean this year is only a curveball. It's not going how I wanted, but I can deal with it, and if I can help someone else, even better. And oh yes, in the meantime there are books for reading and writing. Water. Water pouring from the sky and swirling down drains into the sewers, clown infested and flushed away like rats in a plague house.
Wet hair hanging over hangovers, getting in your eyes and in your mouth. Wet cat hair, somehow getting everywhere. I sometimes think my cat is trying to kill me. Frozen water slipped between pavement cracks, hanging icicle shaped when the gritters are out. Hydrogenated gases swirling in foreign atmospheres, not enough to support life, but enough to supply the hope of it. Like when you wash the from your eyes on some unenchanted morning while the kettle boils. Water turned to milk and poured from coconuts. Milk-faced kids wearing t-shirts saying, "You're not a baby cow, bro. You're a human being." Recycled water in international space stations. Sweat leaking in and out of armpits. Tears raining down like a waterfall. Technicolor echoes. He barely knew me, maybe not at all, and I didn't know him the way I should have. Met a few times under hazy lights at Wickham Arts Centre. He retweeted us like there was no tomorrow. I was looking forward to seeing him again. I have this theory of colour. It's not about race and reflects vitality. There are colourful people turning heads when they walk into rooms. I collect them like butterflies, but without the cruelty. Lionel, you lit up the room when you were in it. Your words had power and still have it. Your name conjures the face which conjures the magic. You were a brother in arms fighting the good fight for a better world. A world you believed in but will never see. And I wonder what you would have made of life after COVID. Something beautiful, no doubt, an opportunity to reshape society into something better, and now I know we owe it to you to make that happen. When I think of you, I don't see sadness, just love and compassion and understanding. They say a man isn't gone until the echoes he left fade away, and so you haven't gone nowhere, you've gone somewhere. The echoes have colour, a legacy of synesthesia. The echoes are strong and getting stronger.
Okay, that was some poetry by myself, Dane Cobain. You're listening to The Art Show on 106.6 FM Wickham Sound. And we're going to look at some music, so this is What If by Bitterroot.
not making any judgment. It's really not my place. I'm just another member of this perfect human race. It's not my affair. You do as you please. Why should I care? It's nothing to me. All animals are soulless. They're here for us to use. Their lives don't have a meaning. They have nothing to lose. They're dumb, they're unclean. They don't have a brain. They're just like machines. They don't feel the pain. How fortunate they are to live in such a caring world. How grateful they must feel to have their short lives made so full. You've earned your blood money. You've earned your blood money. It's not my affair. You do as you please. Why should I care? It's nothing to me. How fortunate they are to live in such a caring world. How grateful they must feel to have their short lives made so full. You've earned your blood money. You've earned your blood money. Your blood money. Your blood money. Your blood money. So yours. So yours. So yours.
That was Blood Money by Clive Whitelock. Before that we had What If by Bitterroot. You're listening to The Art Show on 106.6 FM Wickham Sound. I'm your host Dane Cobain. And we're joined here in the studio, well, virtually, by local photographer Vicky Baptiste. So over to Vicky.
So I want to talk to you about a bunch of different things today. And one of them I want to talk to you about is the talk that you gave at Wickham Arts Centre. So I wondered if you could just tell us a little bit about that, what the talk was about.
Yeah, so that talk was called Beauty and the Truth. And it was looking into the truth behind beauty, what makes us feel the way that we do. Everyone obviously feels different when it comes to beauty, but perhaps what makes us feel not good enough more when it comes to beauty. There are so many elements to that, whether it be the media or other people or ourselves, more to the point, whatever it would be. It was very much all about sort of sense of self and how that all affects us, really.
Yeah. I suppose it's a bit of a challenge as well, because obviously a lot of beauty is, internal beauty as well, and the beauty of people's character and stuff. But obviously you're a photographer, so you're kind of dealing very much with just a visual depiction of people as well. So, but I guess, how does your photography allow you to overcome those, those societal beauty standards, or, the mainstream media depiction of what beauty is?
I thought that was a really great question, actually. So my photography, I feel it is a bit different. I do focus on the stories of my customers as well as just the external beauty, if you like. So I like for the images to depict them and to share their story and to show their personalities, and to very much tell perhaps either the story that they've been through, something that they are going through, or if it's a business, to show the story of their brand, and why they created it. So for instance, there was one campaign that I showed during the talk of my friend Lizzie, who is partially sighted. She has retinitis pigmentosa, which means that her peripheral vision struggles. So she wanted to do a shoot when she got her cane, because she really felt that it sort of defined her beauty, really. And she actually wanted to show, no, I actually want to feel empowered with this. I don't want it to define who I am or to feel less than who I am. So we shot an incredible picture that, you know, made her look this empowering, amazing person that she wanted to feel. And that was part of her journey to accepting that, you know, she had to use a cane. And we're going to do a shoot moving forwards now that she has a guide dog, to really show that empowerment with a guide dog as well, and also to educate. I like my shoots to educate people as well, if there is a point that we can educate people with. So for instance, Lizzie told me that she gets refused a lot of places with her guide dog, which is actually illegal. And it just makes her feel like rubbish. She absolutely feels worthless. You know, she feels ashamed, and she shouldn't have to turn up somewhere and feel embarrassed because she can't go in. So that's our next campaign. That was a really long answer. Sorry, I got passionate.
No, it's interesting, because I was going to ask you about that, actually, because that's one of the things that sort of stuck with me. And I remember in your talk you said you were hoping to do an updated shoot with the dog as well. So I was going to ask you if you got round to doing that yet. But so that's very much in the works.
We're in planning stages at the moment. So I've put together the brochure. Lizzie has an amazing network of people. So we're going to see if we can get Guide Dogs UK on it and actually really use all of our resources together, because that's another important thing to what I do. I can just be a photographer and just put my stuff out. But I very much believe in partnership working. And I love working with different people and working with different organizations. So if we can really sort of rally this and get it seen by as many different people as possible, that's where it's going to have the greatest effect. So I'm so excited about doing that. We don't have a date for the shoot yet, but we're very much sort of going for it, and hopefully it will be released before Christmas.
Cool. And it's so I guess when you're doing your shoots, especially when you're focusing on the storytelling element, is it quite like a collaborative process, you know, like brainstorming between the two of you to kind of identify that story and figure out the best way to share it?
Yeah, absolutely. So some people come to me and just say, can you just do it? Like, this is the thing, can you do it? But I do like that collaborative approach, because I don't know what turning up at a place with a guide dog, I don't know what it feels like when you're told, no, you can't go in somewhere. So I like to explore and speak to as many different people as possible beforehand who are struggling with that, to get their take on it, so that I actually do understand when I'm shooting the full story, really. So yeah, I like to do as much research as possible. I like to speak to as many different people facing the problem at hand, get their take on it, and use their stories to inspire the shoots. So if they give me different scenarios, I will try and turn it on its head in the shoot and really convey what they've told me in a creative way. So hopefully within this shoot, it was just going to be with Lizzie, we're hopefully going to have 5 or 6 different people in it, to show lots of different aspects. You know, how does it feel when you turn up somewhere and you can't go in? What long-term effects does that have? And also communicating, it's against the law, so people aren't allowed to do it. So that's kind of the main point. You can't refuse somebody with a guide dog entry into your establishment. So at the moment, we're piecing together, how do we convey all of that? And so the idea about having multiple people is so that we can show different aspects of it, so all of the different parts. So yeah, absolutely, I love to work with the people to, you know, I really immerse myself in the whole thing. It's not just a photo shoot, it's the whole story, it's everything that goes with it.
Yeah, and I think that's something not everyone would realize, because I suppose to myself, like a non-photographer, I would think like, oh, you take your camera along to something and you take some photos, you know. And so I think it's like people don't realize that's actually the tip of the iceberg, and all of this hard work goes in beforehand. I mean, I used to work at a marketing agency as well, and they would do you know, photography shoots and also film shoots, and you know, it kind of opened my eyes then to how much work goes in. Like, you have to get like permission from everybody, you know. To shoot in a public place, you normally have to get permission from whoever owns the property or that kind of thing. So yeah, a lot of work goes into it beforehand.
Definitely. And it's, you know, for this shoot, obviously we can't specifically pinpoint one organization or one. We have to be very careful about how we shoot it, because you know, you can get in trouble with those things. So we have to do it in a creative way, and we have to convey the message in sort of in a creative storytelling way that doesn't point fingers at people as well. So there's a massive art to it. There really is. I feel like every time I do one of these shoots, I learn something. I learn how to do it better, and you know, how we can convey our message well, basically. You don't want to be that person that's just known because you're shouting and screaming. You actually want the pictures to make an impact for the right reasons, not the wrong ones. So that's also very important, and a very important aspect that we have to take into account when planning these shoots as well. Yeah.
And I mean, on the subject of you know, guide dogs and whatnot, so a few Christmases ago, my mum got me as a Christmas present, you can sponsor a guide dog. So she got me one of those a few years ago, and it's become like an ongoing you know, we just renew it each time, because you get little, they call them pup dates, where they send you photos of the dogs and whatnot.
I love
but yeah, they're great. But one of the things I remember learning through, I think, something that they sent me was like the issue of parking, basically, because if people are parking too far over on the curbs, then it forces people with visual impairments to go out into the road, and it's super dangerous. And it's just all these little things that, you know, as a sighted person, you take for granted. Whereas actually, obviously, if you do have a, you know, a visual difficulty, then I think little things like that can make a huge difference. So yeah, Absolutely. It's really cool that you're doing stuff to kind of highlight those issues that people face.
Absolutely. And it's, you know, as you say, as an able-bodied person, you wouldn't often think about it, but I'm sat in front of a car now that's parked all the way on the pavement. So if you're in a wheelchair, or even if somebody's got a buggy with a child in, they're going to have to walk out into the road. It's very dangerous. And also, I saw an article a few months ago about putting the necessary pavements at all of the underground stations, because the edge of the platform isn't necessarily visible to all in all stations. Especially those partially sighted or blind. And there was a question over it of, oh, can we do it? I'm like, well, yeah, because people could die. So yes, you not can we do it? You should do it. It needs doing, obviously. Yeah,
it's like an obligation. It's like it's not a question of can we do it. It's we have to do it. So how are we going to do it, kind of thing.
Exactly. So hopefully, I am just one tiny part with this campaign of helping all of that happen. Hopefully, you know, it will make people think, and it will make people, when they read articles like that, go, no, actually we absolutely should be doing that, so let's push for that.
You're listening to The Archer on 106.6 FM Wickham Sound. I'm your host, Dane Cobain. I'm here in conversation with photographer Vicky Baptiste, and this is To the River by Lewis Branch.
Lately I've been feeling kinda low about love. Lately I've been feeling like it's not enough. What happened to the buzz when we used to touch? Where did the magic go that we call love? So take me back to the river, take me back to your love, take me back to the river, take me back to your heart. Let your love wash over me, it's so clear to see. Take me back to the river, take me back to your heart. Oh, I don't wanna let go of everything we've got. Oh, I don't wanna be the one to say goodbye. But what happened to the buzz when we used to touch? Where did the magic go that we could love? So take me back to the river, take me back to your love. Take me back to the river, take me back to your heart. Let your love wash over me, it's so clear to see. Take me back to the river, take me back to your heart. Take me back and pull me closer. Take me back and be my lover. Take me back and pull me closer. Take me back and be my lover. Take me back and pull me closer. Take me back and be my lover. Take me back and pull me closer, closer. So take me back to the river. Take me back to your love. Take me back to the river. Wash over me, it's so clear to see. Take me back to the river, take me back to your heart. So take me back to the river, take me back to your love. Take me back to the river, take me back to your heart.
That was To the River by Lewis Branch. You're listening to The Art Show on 106.6 FM Wickham Sound. I'm your host, Dane Cobain, and I'm joined here in conversation by local photographer Vicky Baptiste of Flux Photographic. Got there in the end.
Yeah, cool. And another thing I notice you do sometimes is you occasionally kind of give away free photo shoots, and you actually, I think you ask people to sort of nominate somebody who you know, who deserves it, whether it's, you know, maybe a new mum who's, you know, who needs to feel good about themselves, or whether it's, well, you know, whatever the case might be. And I wonder just, you know, who are some of those people that you photograph like that who are sort of particularly deserving?
Oh, there's so many. So I usually do that around my birthday, just because I think it's really, really important to give back. And I feel like I've got a skill that not everybody is able to access, and everybody should be able to access it. So one of my customers, a couple of years ago, actually, they had, so their mum was fighting a battle with cancer, and she was nominated. Quite a few people nominated this person. And her mum was fighting a battle with cancer, and they wanted to do a shoot, and they weren't sure whether to ask me or not. And I was like, just tell me, in an ideal world, what are we doing? And they wanted to do this shoot down in Mudderford, which I'd never heard of before. I've never been there. And it's right down on the coast. It's absolutely beautiful. They wanted to do a shoot there. It's a couple of hours drive, but it was where they'd gone for their family holidays growing up. They had so many memories there. And they wanted to go and do the shoot down there. And they were like, well, I don't really know whether we can ask for that. And yep, that's where we'll go and do the shoot. So we went down and we sort of recreated some of their childhood poses that they'd done. And we took some photos with the children and their mum. It was one of the most memorable ones of those shoots that I've done, to be honest with you. The most amazing, beautiful family. And just to help that family create those memories, and just bring a day of happiness and, you know, happy memories for them, or to help in that tiny little bit that I could. That was really special for me. And I think people always see it as I'm doing something for them. It's not always that. That really does something for me. I love hearing people's stories. I love spending that time with them, and I love doing my little bit, the tiny bit that I can do, you know, just to help them capture those memories, because that's what we do as photographers. We don't just take pictures and chuck them on a hard drive. we create people's memories. We create the things that they're going to look back on and show their children and their grandchildren, and that's what's left. So yeah, that's particularly a really fond memory of one of those shoots for me.
Cool. And we've talked a bit about sort of photography as a way of telling stories. What is it about photography that makes it such a good storytelling device? I mean, I know the old saying, isn't there, that a picture's worth 1,000 words. Is there truth to that?
I think there definitely is. I mean, especially, we could go down a rabbit hole. I'll try not to, but with social media, we can perceive whatever we want to just from a photo. And so many people do. And then we end up with these massive conversations over, you know, the Met Gala, for instance. There was a huge conversation over who wore what from those pictures, you know? So a picture does tell 1,000 words. I think if you actually look into it deeper and we stop cheapening photography with images that actually don't really matter, to be honest, and we actually put powerful images that, when it comes to social media, that we perhaps want our young people to strive towards rather than, you know, beat themselves up about, to be honest. Yeah, I really think that images have a lot to answer for. Because they tell such a powerful story, we need to be more responsible with them.
Yeah,
with
great power comes great responsibility thing.
Absolutely, it really does. So I think we really do need to think about those images we're putting out, think about the effects they can have, and they are having. They're having drastic effects in some areas. So we really do need to be very much more responsible about those images we're putting out. And we need to be a little bit more honest when things are heavily airbrushed, I think, as well, just so that young people and older people, any people, to be honest, when it comes to that, aren't measuring themselves up against something that actually doesn't exist.
Yeah. Because obviously with things like Snapchat and Instagram, you've also got these sort of, you know, basically self-destructing images that only last for 24 hours or so. How do you think that's affecting the way people look at photographs?
I think as well, it's the whole thing of disposable society, isn't it? It's all this, everything's disposable, including, you know, those images, they come up, they last 24 hours. It's almost worse, isn't it? Because it's like, oh, you know, they're only up for 24 hours. They can't do much damage in that time, but they do. Yeah, they really do, because most people look at those videos. Most people look at that Snapchat. That's what we're doing these days. We just scroll through. We can lose an hour doing that.
Yeah.
So I think that can almost be more damaging than the photos, actually.
Yeah. Well, I suppose, again, like less thought goes into them as well. I mean, I watched, I can't remember whether it was something I watched or something I read, but they were talking about, again, like this evolution of photography, because back in the day, like when photography was still an early art form, you know, everything had to be developed from the film, and actually it was super expensive. So you didn't just take loads of photos of everything. You just made sure you took one really good photo, because that was all, you know, you couldn't afford to keep on developing all of the negatives and things like that. So and I think, I guess, like the move to sort of digital devices and stuff has changed that, because now we can take as many photos as we want. But it's just sort of a little interesting change, I suppose, in the way that photographs have been used.
It is. And I know I'm talking on like a really serious, like, oh, we should be doing this level, but actually photography should be fun. So the joy of digital photography, if we flip it on its head, the joy of actually those little videos and photography being digital and being able to take so many images, is that you can have fun and you can get it wrong. You can see it instantly. It's slightly easier to improve quicker now as well. So I actually think there is that element. And if we see it for what it is, and we actually have fun with photography and take it back to just, you know, having fun and not taking 50 selfies because you didn't get the right one. Which is, you know, so many people do, and it's not wrong and it's not right. But we shouldn't feel like we have to, is probably more my point. You know, we should feel like we could take a goofy picture and just send it out online, you know, without the fear of somebody saying something negative about it, but there's a lot that needs to change before that can happen.
Yeah, and sort of speaking about that, and we've touched on this a bit, but how can photography be used to sort of solve some of the imbalances in society and to change some of the negative things?
I feel like just being more open with how we're shooting and what we're doing and what the processes are. I think photography, or photographers, always have been and probably still are notoriously a little bit secretive about what they do and how they do it and how they get that polished, amazing finish. There are so many amazing photographers, you know, and emerging photographers and hobbyists who, you know, take these amazing, gorgeous images. I think when it comes to people and editing of people, I think we can be a little bit more open about what we're editing and how we're editing, and what changes, you know, a little bit more open about how those changes are happening and what difference they make to the photos.
Yeah.
So a little bit more education to people of what is going on. As you say, you've seen now what goes on behind the scenes. It's not just we pick up a camera and off we go. There's a before, a middle, and an after. And I think if we can actually educate more people on the middle bit, and just open their eyes to what happens in the editing room a little bit more, that would be great. I mean, I specifically, my one thing of my whole company, my one promise is that I will not Photoshop my clients. And it may be that I'm the right photographer for some people, or some people might be terrified of that and might go, I'm not going there because of that. But I like to use my skill that I've learned it during my career, you know, my lighting, my posing, and working with the amazing people that I have in front of me to create the perfect image. And that's not me pushing you about in Photoshop. That's me doing my job and using my skills to photograph exactly what is in front of me, exactly the way it looks. And for people to see that and go, oh no, actually I look pretty awesome.
Yeah, and that kind of leads me into nicely into one of the questions I wanted to ask, which is how can like photography be used to help people to heal from things like trauma or adversity that they've been through, or maybe low self-esteem, things like that?
Yeah, so that's a really good question, and that's something I do a lot of. I have a lot of clients who have been through changes within their lives, whether it be physical or other changes. So I've worked with ladies who have survived domestic violence, or, you know, have won the cancer battle, and who have had mastectomies. And a lot of the ladies I photograph, they want to celebrate that at the end of it, that they've gone through that. It's also a really, really difficult process. They need to be at a certain time within their journey so that they can embrace that experience rather than be terrified of it. So when I see my ladies, they're at a point where they have gone through and processed whichever trauma they may have been through. My part in the journey is taking the images that make them embrace themselves again, embrace their bodies for how they are. So my ladies who have had mastectomies, whether they've chosen to have a breast reconstruction or not, when I take their pictures, it can be quite an emotional session. It really can be. There's a lot of mixed feelings that happen within that photo shoot, a lot of conversations that happen within there. But it's that final image, being able to look at that final image for the women, for them to go, that's me, I look amazing, I felt amazing during the shoot. And that's a massive point, because people always say, you know, people will always remember how you made them feel. And that's a massive point, because if they feel amazing during the shoot, they will feel amazing after the shoot. So it's the process as much as the final image.
What's next for you, and where can people find out more?
So what's next for me, I have 2 campaigns that I want to run simultaneously. So the next campaign will be with Lizzie, and will focus on sight impairment. Christmas is for me as well. I'll be doing lots of different photo shoots around the area, both in High Wycombe and in Leighton Buzzard. Those are my two areas that I am in at the moment. My Beautiful You movement is growing. I've got a whole new plan for that. I'm going to relaunch that next year, and we're going to have some amazing full-day workshops around body positivity. So I'm working to organise that for sort of September next year, to hold my first Beautiful You workshop. And if anybody would like to find me, they can find me on my website, www.fluxphotographic.co.uk, or Instagram, fluxphoto_. You can see all of my work on there. You can keep up to date with all of my projects. And that's it from me.
Thank you very much to Vicky Baptiste for joining me. You're listening to The Art Show on 106.6 FM Wycombe Sound. I'm your host, Dane Cobain, and this is the legendary Maz Manzini with You Should Have Jumped.
You should have jumped. You should have jumped. You should have jumped. You should have jumped. You should have jumped. You should have jumped. You should have jumped. You shouldn't have stayed inside. Staying inside's far to make. You should have jumped. You should have gotten outside in the street. You should have jumped. You shouldn't have stayed inside. Staying inside's far to wait. You should have jumped. You should have gotten outside. Slide on the slide where you keep it in mind for the weekend break when the passenger says enough. But we don't, we go faster, playing it safe. By the bulls we're shooting off the cuff. We can stop when the sheet has had enough. But we don't, we lambast. You should have been here when we were swinging in the rough. Well then you know, you should have jumped. You shouldn't have stayed inside. Staying inside's far to make. You should have jumped. You should have gotten outside in the street. You should have jumped. You shouldn't have stayed inside. Staying inside's far to make. You should have jumped. You should have gotten outside. Slide on the slide where you keep it in mind for the weekend break when the passenger says enough. But we don't, we go faster, playing it safe for the rules we're shooting off the cuff. We can stop when she has had enough. But we don't, we lambast. They should have been here when we were swinging in the rough. But who needs the fairways? No. But then you know, you should have jumped. You shouldn't have stayed inside. Staying inside's far to make. You should have jumped. You should have gotten outside in the street. You should have jumped. You shouldn't have stayed inside. Staying inside's far to wait. You should have jumped. You should have gotten outside. Slide on the slide where you keep it in mind for the screaming consciences. Remind me that there's always so much fear
You Should Have Jumped by Maz Manzini. You're listening to The Archer on 106.6 FM Wickham Sound. I'm your host, Dane Cobain. And we're going to head over to Twangling and Jack Ford over in the Oak Shed for this week's album review.
Slade Alive by Slade. Slade leapt into the glittery puddle of glam rock with 4 pairs of stomping Doc Martin boots. They were shedding their skinhead image with a shortened name. The single that first gave them any success was Get Down and Get With It, a shouty Little Richard type number that captured from the word go their extraordinary energy and excitement. Recorded as if live, it was no doubt the inspiration to record a live album. There was a time in the early 70s when Slade were the Beatles and the Stones. They had a string of classic pop hits, many of which hit the top of the charts. But they remained a hard-rocking bunch of blokes from the Midlands, though they appealed to both yobs and grands alike. Slade Alive was actually performed in a studio with a live audience, but it captures how it felt to be at a gig in the 70s, somewhere like the Marquee on Wardour Street. It feels like a pub rock gig, though a few years before Dr. Feelgood set the pub scene alight. Slade Alive is a blast of raw energy, which had it been by a hip American band like the Stooges or MC5, would be hailed as a classic. You can almost taste the Watney's Red Barrel and choke on a cloud of Rothmans with maybe a hint of something jazzier. The crowd is very much a star player, as it is all about audience participation. Noddy screeches like no other, apart from maybe fellow Brummie Robert Plant. They turn John Sebastian's tender Darling Be Home Soon into an epic and bring it down with a burp, which not only did they not edit out, but became part of the act. There are moments where you might mistake them for early Status Quo. There are not many songs and only 2 real originals. There's a very shouty, crowd-pleasing sing-along version of Get Down and Get With It. There is a rock and roll medley with yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, that really did happen in so many gigs in the 70s. It ends with Born to Be Wild, which itself ends in a cacophony of sirens and guitars being attacked with amps turned up to 11. Yes, that is how gigs did end in the 70s. Slade Alive. Slade.
Big thank you to Twangling Jack Ford for this week's album review. Thank you to Vicky Baptiste for joining me and to all of the artists whose music I've shared. As always, if you're a musician yourself, feel free to send me MP3s here at the studio on dane.cobain@wickhamsound.org.uk. That's dane.cobain@wickhamsound.org.uk. We're also on Facebook. You can find us searching for The Art Show on Wickham Sound. And you can listen again. We're repeated Monday nights on Wickham Sound. We're also on iTunes, Spotify. We're on the Wickham Sound Listen Again. You can find us. Give us a Google. And so, with that note, I'm going to leave you until next week with Build a Coffin by Robert Honor. I'll see you soon.
Build a coffin for me. And could you fill it with grief? And can you load it so heavy that it buckles and creaks? And would you all shed a tear? Create a river so clear that you can see to the bottom, flowing year after year. Form a queue at the dawn. I float above you all with a smile so wicked as friends and relatives talk. What a wonderful life, full of heartache and strife. Oh, that boy was so crazy, truly one of a kind. Am I deluded to expect so much appreciation once life's concluded from a ring of hope
join up for the greater good. This won't happen, but I wish it would. So build a coffin for me, bury me 6 feet deep, so just for once I'll feel special, while I eternally sleep.